folks, welcome back to another review with yours truly, Sam Healey. Today we're taking a look at this bad boy right here, Warhammer Quest, the Silver Tower, the latest release from Games Workshop over in Nottingham. And basically it's a dungeon crawl game for 2 to 4 players, and it's got really nice miniatures and a pretty good gameplay. Let's take a look at it down at the table. So in a game of Warhammer Quest, it's a game for 2 to 4 players, and you're basically a party that's going through a dungeon per se. Now it is called the Silver Tower, so it is where the Gaunt Summoner lives, so to speak. And it's kind of a labyrinth, a maze of rooms that are shifting and changing and all of this kind of stuff, and you're trying to fight your way through it for whatever your various deeds are. Each of you will take on the characteristics of a adventurer into the tower, and you all have your own reasons for being there, but basically you're just trying to get through 8 different trials. Now each trial that you're going to go through is broke up into a number of different rounds, and each round has 4 phases in it. The first phase is the Destiny phase, where you're going to be taking all 5 of the Destiny dice and you're going to be rolling them. These can be extra actions that can be used during any of the hero's turns. But if you roll doubles, they're removed from the pool, and so now you only have 3 dice to use during the turn. In the first turn of the game, any that are discarded are simply just discarded, but after that there will be consequences of those Destiny dice being discarded, and they will bring in the different familiars that are in the game. Familiars will do a number of different things. Sometimes they will subtract from dice rolls for attack. Sometimes they'll add to dice for defense. A number of different things that can happen. But in the first round of the game, these that are discarded don't have any effect because you're not actually in the Silver Tower just yet. But as you can see here, these are going to be 3 extra dice that are going to be able to be used for actions by any of the adventurers. Now that brings me to my second thing. Actions are, you have 4 dice, which also represent your health, but they are also going to be able to represent how many actions you get to do during the course of your turn. Furthermore, as you can see here, like for example, a weapon action for Fireslayer Doomseeker, he can use any dice that is 1 or higher to attack with his runic war iron. But he can only use a 5+ to use his Doomseeker axe, which is a much more powerful weapon. There is an explore action, which simply means you're going to flip over a card. You have to be at a portal edge. You flip over a card, and that's going to add another room to the path. You can also move, which you would look here on your character sheet. And for 1 action, basically you're spending 1 die that is either a 1 or higher, and you can move that many spaces. You can also recuperate, which is healing hit points. Which is important because when one of your characters is hit, that means it's going to take away an action from your pool, and that means that he'll have fewer actions that he can do while he's wounded. So you may want to take one of your actions to recuperate, and that is basically heal that wound. So we would have the Destiny phase, and then we have the Hero phase, where each hero in turn gets to do all 4 or more of his actions if he chooses to use the Destiny dice. And then he goes to the Adversary phase, where the adversaries would then have a chance to attack, but it is not just willy-nilly. Each kind of adversary, just for example here, we can look at the Khairic Acolytes, will have a table on them called a behavior table, which basically you roll a d6 and it tells you exactly how they act during the turn. So there's no guesswork there. It simply tells you very succinctly what they will do on that turn and how. And then after the adversary phase, you have the end phase, where it's basically a cleanup type phase, preparing for the next round to begin. So at the beginning of the first round, let's say Fireslayer Doomseeker is going to be the person who is rune marked, and he will go first. The first thing he will have done is roll the Destiny dice. We've already shown that, and these are the Destiny dice that are available. Then, at the beginning of the hero phase, he will take his dice and roll them, and these are the actions that he is able to do during the turn. And so the first one he's going to do, since we're standing at the precipice of going into the tower, is he's going to explore. So he's going to use his 1 here to explore, and that means we're flipping over the first passage here. So this means that we take the whirligig passage, which looks like this. We take it out of the box and we add it to the edge of the track here, like so. All right, and then it says that we add a portal right here, which is basically another exit. Then we read the card. It says the floor moved constantly in this place, clicking and whirring as it interlocked and spun apart in ever-changing configurations of crescent tiles and seamlessly meshing cogworks. So it just gives you a kind of an ambiance about what's going on in the room. And then it says roll on encounter table B. So we would flip over the adventure book here, and we have a number of different tables that we roll on. So we go to encounter table B, we take a D6 and roll it. It's a number 2. So 1 pink horror or an exotic adversary group would come out. Since this is just the base game, we don't actually have any exotic mercenary groups or adversary groups. So we're just going to take a pink horror here, and when you place it out, you put it as close to the center of the board as you possibly can. So we'll put him right there. So now he'll take a number 2 and use that to move. And so we're going to move up to 3. Actually, we'll go ahead and move the third action here to there. And now we can use a 3 action here. We're going to attack with his runic war iron. And so that means that he rolls a 2+ to hit. So he rolls a 6. That's a 2+, and it scores 1 damage. So we take 1 damage and place it on the pink horror. All of the horror's characteristics are on their page here. So if you look at it, first of all, a pink horror, which is the strongest kind of horror, moves 5 places. It has a vigor, which how many hit points it has, of 4. And with this action, we're going to use, we're going to save that 5. We're going to use this 6 over here. Now, when a destiny die is used, the highest one is locked, so that the first person that goes can't use all of them. All right, so we're going to use this 6, and we're going to use it to use a Doomseeker axe. So it's 5+, which this was a 6, so that's fine. Now we have to roll a 3+ to hit. So we roll, and we got a 3. It does D3 damage. So we're going to roll this. So it's a 1. It does 1 more hit of damage. All right, so we have 1 more dice left. We're going to go ahead and use this one for another Doomseeker axe attack. And that's a 3. So it's a 3+. It did hit. And now we're going to roll a D3 to see how much damage we do. And another 1. So it has taken 3 points of damage, which means we'll go ahead and put a 3 counter on that. Fireslayer Doomseeker is actually done with his actions. All right, just briefly to show you an adversary round, basically what you would do is you would take a die and roll on the behavior table. It's a 4, so it would do a blazing whirlwind. Each horror in the group moves so that there are as many heroes in this chamber as possible. Then each horror of the group attacks with pink fire. So then we look up here with pink fire, and it says that we roll 1 die, and it's an area effect, which means that it's going to target all of the heroes, not just one of them, or something to that effect. And it's going to cause 1 damage each. It's a blue horror, so we would take the second, which is a 4+. So basically, since there are 2 blue horrors, they're going to roll 2 dice, 1 for each of them, and if they score a 4+, then it goes off. So only one of them rolled a 4+, so that means each of the heroes take 1 hit point of damage. Now, heroes actually have a save throw that they can roll every time that they are damaged. So Fireslayer Doomseeker here would roll. His is a 4+, so he saves. He doesn't actually have to take a wound. Dark Oath Chieftain's save is a 5+. He's not wearing as much armor, and he definitely takes a hit. So one of his dice will be replaced with a wound marker. And then the Night Quester over here has a 4+ save, and he saves as well. So he doesn't actually have to take a wound either. And that's the end of the adversary phase. At this point, we would go to the end phase where we're basically cleaning up and getting ready for the next round. And basically the game would continue that way. You would be fighting through each room until each of the different adversaries in the room are finished. You don't have to clear the room before you move on to the next one, but when you have 2 rooms of adversaries, it gets kind of hairy, so maybe you'd want to clear each room before you move on to the next one. Additionally, there are things called respites that are in the game, and basically what that means is that at the end of the hero phase, which is basically the beginning of the adversary phase, if there are no adversaries on the board, that is what is known as a respite. During a respite, you would have to check for an ambush. Otherwise, you can rest to heal D3 wounds or search the room by rolling a die. And if you roll a 4 or more, you get to take a treasure card and add it to your player. So that's Warhammer Quest in a nutshell. I know I didn't go into very deep detail there, but that is basically how the game is played. Of course, you're going to have on average anywhere from, I guess, 5, 6, maybe 7 rooms that you're going to go through with each trial. And it's not actually guaranteed that you're going to have to go through all 7 or however many rooms that there are. You don't use anywhere near all of the rooms for each trial, so there's a whole lot of replayability here. And that's just in the actual 8 trial version of the game, where it's the campaign version. You can pretty much set up the exploration deck any way you want to and just play through it as long as you'd like. And there's a lot of replayability here, which is one of the things that I really do enjoy about the game. Now, another thing that I liked a lot about the game here is the rule book, or the way they call it, the guide book. It was just very clear. It told you everything that you needed to know, but it didn't do so in an overwrought manner, which I thought was pretty cool. It was very basic, very simple, and it got you playing the game very quickly, which is a good thing for rule books. This looks kind of thick, but about half of it is basic rules that only happen every once in a while, and then you have little background stories on all of the characters, and then the different kinds of monsters that you're going to have, and all of their characteristics are in the back. And then there is another thing that I like about the game, and that is the adventure book. And this is where you're going to be getting your different thematic ambiance cues from what's actually going to the game. This is kind of the storytelling aspect of the game that's going to tie everything together, and this is one of the things that I really like. I liked the fact how it didn't mess with experience points at all. It simply gave you skill cards after you killed, after you have your renowned marker get around the track and go back to the place that it started on. That's a replacement of experience points, and I liked that. As far as the different tiles are concerned, the components that are involved, the dice that come in the game are very, they're common dice. They're different colored so that you each have your own color as far as that's concerned, but they're very common other than that. There's nothing special about them, just regular 6-sided pipped dice. The cards are, they're okay. They're pretty thick, but they're of just a very basic kind of cardstock, but they are good enough. The tiles that make up the rooms are very durable and hard. They're not going to fold up or probably warp on you too bad. The models are amazing. And another good thing about the models, they didn't take me forever to put together. This game comes in with 51 different models, and it only took me a day to put them together. These models were specifically designed for this game alone. They're not recycling old models that have been used in other games or other army packs or anything like that. These models were designed specifically for this game, and it shows because it didn't take me forever in a day. I'd say on average each model had about 3 pieces, maybe 4 to glue together. That's a huge improvement because your regular Space Marine model has like 8, 9, sometimes 10 pieces to glue together. I think this is a great step in the right direction for Games Workshop because while there are models in this box and there is a definite hobby aspect to this game, it is not the same as the other games that they've been coming out with. The Destiny dice aspect is a really cool addition to the game. I like how the first person that goes it's impossible for them to use all of the dice. They have to kind of share, because every time a dice is used, the highest number die that's left is locked. And that just adds another thing to it. The dice allocation point allowance, action point allowance system that's there, that's a really cool thing that I'm glad that they used here, because I enjoy games that use that same mechanic. Games like Dead of Winter and those kinds of things are the same kind of mechanic, where you have to roll your dice, and those dice are the number of actions that you have during your turn, and they also tell you what kind of actions you're going to be able to do as well. The kind of adversaries that pop up in each room are different, and that's a really cool thing too. It adds a lot of replayability, because you might go into the same room, but you might roll differently on the encounter table in that room. So you might meet a different kind of adversary in that room on another trial after you've already seen it one time. So that's a really cool thing that I thought was really neat about it. Additionally, instead of just having adversaries that always do the same thing, you get to roll on a behavior table that tells you what they do, and that's going to change how they act from time to time. So it kind of simulates a artificial intelligence that the adversaries have. They're not just these mindless zombies that are walking around the room just attacking whoever's next to them. Now, that being said, I didn't necessarily like the fact that it had to be tables that you roll a die for. That seemed a little bit archaic, but at the same time it works with this setting. As it stands right now, I really like the direction that this game has headed in for Games Workshop. I like the fact that they have taken the time to design their models and their sprues specifically for this game, instead of recycling some old models and that type of thing that they've used in other games or other army packs. I like that a lot, and I do also like a lot of it's kind of a mesh of old and new mechanics that's going on here. So all in all, I'm going to give this a very strong 7 out of 10. And 7 for me is this is a game that I'm going to be keeping. It's going to stay on my shelf, and it's going to be a game that I'm going to continue playing as long as my boys will be willing to play it with me. I am going to probably paint the models. Whether I'll do that for videos or not, I don't know. Might turn it into a little bit, maybe see if I can get my kids into some painting with these guys as well. So again, I was really impressed with Warhammer Quest. Really enjoyed it a lot. Had a great time with it. It's a very simple game, but it has a lot of fun packed into the game, and there's a lot of versatility with it, which is a big thing for me as well. So that is Warhammer Quest. Strong 7 out of 10 from me. We'll see you on the flip side, folks.